Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Can you hear the dog barking all hours of the day and night? I do. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with that today, okay? I know I wasn't here last week. I had something to do, I had plans. Here I am. I'm gonna turn on my fan. It's very hot, and I hope it doesn't mess with the sound, but we'll see. Welcome back. Last week we talked about Fire in the Sky. Oh, if you're new, what I'm doing is Twisted Tuesdays, where for right now I'm taking movies that are based on true events, and I'm talking about them while doing my makeup. I'm very much inspired by Bailey Sarian and Robert Welch. He's inspired by Bailey, and I am inspired by both of them to do this. So last week we talked about Fire in the Sky, aliens, mystery, murder? Question mark? There was no murder, but that's what they thought. This week we're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street. Ooh. I think it's fairly well known now that it's based on a story that Wes Craven found, but if you didn't know, it's based on an article that Wes Craven read. Let's get started. So, A Nightmare on Elm Street came out in 1984 and is inspired by an article that Wes Craven read in the LA Times. If you've never seen the film, I recommend it. It's a classic. It's a must watch. I'm not a big fan of like slasher films, but it's definitely, if you're a horror fan, you need to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street. But it's about a girl named Nancy, and she's having these nightmares. She's having these dreams about a man with knives for fingers. And it just so happens that in her friend group, they are also having nightmares about the same man with knives for fingers chasing after them in their dreams and trying to kill them. And if you die in your dreams, you die in real life. No thanks. No thank you. Pass. Hard pass. Hard pass on that one. I have my notes here. I can't remember everyone's name for the cast, so I'm going to be looking at my notes so I can tell you who the cast is. I already know Freddy Krueger is Robert Englund, because everybody knows that Freddy Krueger is Robert Englund. Then we have Heather Langenkamp as Nancy. We have Johnny Depp as Glenn. It's his first film debut, which is pretty dang cool that it was not only a horror movie, but a staple in horror. So Johnny Depp plays Glenn. Amanda Weiss plays Tina. Juice Garcia plays Rod. Ronnie Blakely as Marge, she's the mom. And John Saxon as Donald. He plays the father and the police officer. So that Nancy's mother and father is who they play. Oh, and like I did last time, I'm going to link down below everything that I will be using today. So Wes Craven is the creator and director of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Wes Craven is, rest in peace, responsible for a lot of staples in horror. Scream is a very big and popular one that people love, along with People Under the Stairs, Nightmare on Elm Street. But he was reading the LA Times and found an article about a family who survived the killing fields in Cambodia. If you don't know what the killing fields are, it's basically just mass genocide that was happening in the time. So during this time, more than 1 million people were killed during 1975 and 1979. And so obviously people fled, they left, they had to survive somehow. That's just unimaginable. I'm not going to get too into it. But he read an article about one family that survived and they fled Cambodia. So their son reported to be having nightmares. Really vivid, horrifying nightmares that a man was chasing him in his dreams, and he was afraid that the man would get him because the man was going to kill him if he got him. So this poor boy was refusing to sleep. He didn't want to go to bed. So he was afraid of this man that was in his dreams. So the family was trying everything that they could to get him some comfort, to get him some sleep. They did anything from sleeping pills. I think they took him to the doctor at one point to try and get him to figure out how to sleep. They try to tell him that they're just nightmares. You're safe. You're not over there anymore. You're here with your family, and there's nothing to be afraid of, which is true. Like, he's safe now. So one night, the boy finally fell asleep. His parents were relieved, like, he's asleep now. Finally, he's getting some peace. I'm gonna go into some statistics later on about sleep and your body and why it's so important to get sleep. So it made sense why his parents were super, super happy that he was finally able to rest. And in the middle of the night, his family heard screams coming from his room, and they bolted up out of bed, ran to his room, and by the time they got there, he sadly was dead. He died from fear. He died of fear. That's very tragic that happened. What's also interesting about that story is that it didn't just happen to him. It happened to other men who also survived the killing fields in Cambodia. They all said to have been chased by this man. I couldn't find any descriptions of what this man looked like. It's not Freddy Krueger. That's a whole out of Wes Craven's imagination. But that's interesting that they all had the same dream. But it is common for people to have dreams of someone chasing them, and for being in a place to experience something as traumatic as they experienced. It also makes sense that they had dreams of something chasing them and trying to kill them. Also, when they went to the boy's room, he wasn't actually taking his sleeping pills like his parents had him take. He was pretending to take them, and they found them like stuffed in his bed. And they also found a coffee pot in his room, like hidden. So he was trying to stay awake. He did not want to go to sleep, which is understandable if you're being tormented by these awful dreams and nightmares. Let's talk a little bit about sleep on its own for just a moment. The longest someone has been recorded to go without sleep is 11 consecutive days. 11 days with no sleep. I have insomnia, so I already have a really difficult time sleeping, and it's frustrating. Because it's not like you just can't sleep. It's like you're exhausted, you're very tired, but your brain is not sending any melatonin to tell you to sleep, like go to bed. It's time to rest. Your body's just still pumping and going. It's a very weird feeling of exhaustion and signaling like it's still daytime and time to stay up when it's definitely not. It's not a pleasant feeling to have. But after 3 days without sleep, you start to hallucinate. You start to have hallucinations. So I'm sure that these men, that wasn't helping. Like, if they were keeping themselves awake, I'm sure that just intensified what was happening. They probably saw this, whoever was chasing them, like in their room or something while they were awake, which makes sense why, if you've seen the movie, you can like bring him out of your dreams into the real world. If you see a lot of jumps where a lot of my makeup is already done, it's just there isn't a lot to say about this story in particular, so it's probably going to be a fairly short video this week. So from my notes that I wrote, after long periods without sleep, it can also lead to irritability, delusions, paranoia, and psychosis. So I'm sure there was a lot more that was happening to these people who were trying to stay awake, especially the story of this boy. Like, there has to be more than what the story just says. I'm sure he wasn't himself. I don't know. I'm sure y'all have experienced staying up for something or another, whether that be school or work or even just staying up to watch movies or play video games or something. Like, you don't function as yourself. You actually function as if you're drunk. It's the same, I can't remember the toxicity level it is when you're sleep deprived, but you're basically drunk when you're asleep, or experiencing the same symptoms as being drunk when you're asleep. Am I tilted? My camera's tilting. Have I been tilted this whole time? I'm sorry, y'all. Let's see. I have never stayed awake for more than 24 hours. So I haven't hallucinated anything. I have some ghost stories that can be probably hallucinations and like mass hysteria. Because I don't know what they are, but I'm sure they had to do something with sleep and like not getting enough of it. So maybe. Let's talk about the film compared to the story. So as far as a man chasing someone in their dreams and trying to kill them, like that's pretty spot. You probably can't hear me when I'm like this, but it's pretty spot on with just someone chasing you in your dreams and trying to kill you. Now again, the character Freddy Krueger was created by Wes Craven, and there's no records of this man that was chasing these people in their dreams of what he looked like. I don't think that it would be like Freddy Krueger, because that's a whole story in itself. But a man being all burnt up, which is why I'm doing red today. Doing a red eye as best as I can. This concealer is not really wanting to work with me today. Something that I really like the detail to is in the movie, Nancy also has a pot of coffee hidden in her bedroom. I know she takes pills to stay awake. I can't remember if she takes pills to fall asleep. Like, I can't remember if her mom gives her pills to fall asleep or not. I think she does. So there's like the bathroom scene where she gives her like a glass of warm milk, or says she's going to make one. I think she gives her a pill. I can't remember. Let me know. Does Nancy take sleeping pills? Or like, does her mom give her sleeping pills to help her sleep? But I do like the detail of the coffee pot that Nancy keeps in her room to stay awake. I like that a lot. Okay, very quickly, I'm going to do my eyeliner, mascara, and my lip, and I'm going to give my final thoughts. Hello, I'm back. Well, it's been like no time at all for you, but I'm back with the final look. I tried to do more highlight. It's not coming out on camera because I wanted it to look a little wet and shiny, because some burns, depending on how bad it is, are wet and shiny. I know that's gross, but that's how it is. So I tried. My final thoughts on everything. It's sad. I think it's very sad that these people were so traumatized, which is fair, that they died in their sleep just from having night terrors and not feeling like they were completely out of the environment that they ran away from. I'm sure there's help that they could get, obviously, like therapy, so that they, you know, can have better sleep, but I don't think that was an option back then. I mean, we're still trying to get comfortable with mental health even today, and back in the 70s and 80s, I don't think it was very heard of or socially acceptable to go to therapy. And I think that's what's really sad, that they could have gotten help, but it just wasn't common to go to therapy. And my thoughts on the movie, it's great. It's very well done. I mean, it's Wes Craven. Hello. It's going to be very well done. It is, I don't want to say cringy. It's purposely supposed to be funny at times. That's just how Wes Craven is. And it's wonderful. I like that he kept with the story. And I like that he talked about it in interviews of where he got the ideas from. And I like how creative he was with it. 100%. I mean, Freddy Krueger now is a staple. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know who Freddy Krueger is. He's everywhere. Robert Englund did amazing bringing that character to life. He's definitely iconic, and that goes without saying. I'm so bright. Ooh. Ooh. Ah. There you go. That's a little better. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. It is shorter than last week's. Next week I am excited. Or next couple weeks. We'll see. Maybe it's next week. I am excited about our next story, I'll say. I'm not going to say what it is, but I am excited about our next story. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It makes me a little mad, but it'll be fun. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.